Hi there, and welcome to this special video on improving your English conversation skills. Whether you're just starting out or you're looking to build your confidence in everyday conversations, this practice session is perfect for you. In this video, we'll explore simple, practical phrases and real-life situations to help you feel more comfortable speaking English. The key is to practice daily and focus on small, achievable steps. Remember, it's okay to make mistakes. Every word you speak is progress, and with time, you'll see incredible improvements. So grab a notebook if you'd like to jot down some new phrases, or just sit back and follow along. By the end of this video, you'll feel more prepared to handle common conversations with ease. And don't forget, the more you practice, the more fluent and natural you'll sound. Now let's get started and dive into some real-world English practice. Part 1. English is like a bridge connecting people from different cultures. It helps us share our thoughts, feelings, and ideas with one another. Conversation is the heart of communication, and every word we choose helps to build that connection. But learning how to start and continue a conversation can sometimes be tricky. So here's a practical approach to developing conversational skills, focusing on everyday topics and phrases. Let's imagine we're having a simple conversation based on real-life situations, where basic phrases can make all the difference. Picture this. You're walking into a cafe, and it's a busy morning. You're in line, waiting for your turn. A stranger in front of you casually looks back and gives a friendly smile. "Crowded today, isn't it?" they say, breaking the ice. Now, this may seem like a small interaction, but moments like this help us practice phrasing and improve our confidence in speaking. A smile and a response like, "Yes, it is. I guess a lot of people need their coffee this morning," can keep the conversation going. When you're unsure what to say next, try to observe your surroundings for cues. You could add, "I hope the coffee here is worth the wait." This small comment invites the other person to share their opinion or story. Everyday English is built around small expressions, repeated in a variety of situations. For example, let's think about the situation when you're ordering at a cafe. The server might greet you with, "Good morning, how can I help you today?" A simple yet polite response like, "Hi, I'd like a latte, please," works perfectly. If you're unsure about some options, you might say, "I haven't been here before. What would you recommend?" By asking for suggestions, you not only invite the other person into a conversation, but you also learn something new. Showing curiosity is an excellent way to engage in dialogue. Let's change the setting to something more common, like meeting someone new at a workplace or a gathering. Imagine you're introducing yourself. A simple start like, "Hi, I'm Alex. Nice to meet you," feels natural and warm. When the other person responds with their name, you can follow up with a question that's easy to answer. Something like, "So, how long have you worked here?" Or, "What brings you to the event today?" Such questions are not too specific, so they allow the other person to share their experiences with you openly. Consider this. Listening is as important as speaking. If the other person says something interesting, respond with something that shows you listened with care. For example, if they say, "I've been with the company for 3 years now," you could say, "Wow, 3 years. That sounds like a great experience. What do you enjoy most about the work?" This kind of conversation shows genuine interest, which is key to building meaningful communication. Moving on, Let's imagine you're at a grocery store, and a customer asks you, "Do you know where the bread aisle is?" If you know the answer, you could respond with, "Yes, it's just over there on the left, by the produce section." If you're not sure, being honest also works. "I'm sorry, I'm not sure, but maybe the staff can help." Everyday conversations are often about being kind and helpful, even in short interactions. Let's practice another scenario. Imagine you're waiting for a bus, and someone nearby asks you, "Excuse me, do you know what time the bus usually comes?" You could respond politely, "Usually it comes around 8:15, but it can sometimes be a few minutes late." These small exchanges help you get more comfortable using the language naturally, without overthinking. Now let's talk about greetings when visiting someone. When you arrive at a friend's house, you might say, "Hi, thanks for inviting me over." A simple, friendly phrase like this sets the tone for the visit. If they offer you something like a drink, you could respond, "Yes, please. That would be great. Thank you." Such small moments are perfect for practicing expressions of gratitude and politeness. And think about leaving a social setting too. When you're saying goodbye, a sentence like, "Thanks for having me, I had a great time," leaves a positive impression. Basic sentences like these can help you feel more at ease when communicating in the English language. The trick is to keep the conversation simple, natural, and light. Starting small and practicing often will make you more confident over time. Whatever the setting, staying open, patient, and respectful helps you connect more with others, even when using a language you're still learning. Over time, as these small conversations build, it feels less like practicing English and more like simply connecting with people. Part 2. Let's dive deeper into more everyday situations where you can practice English conversation. The goal is to keep things practical so you feel confident in any real-life scenario. Imagine that you're meeting someone for the first time at a park. It's a sunny day, and you've both brought your dogs out for a walk. The other person smiles and says, "What a friendly dog you have. What's their name?" This is a great opportunity to practice responding naturally. You could say something like, "Thanks. His name is Max. He loves being outdoors. How about yours?" This kind of friendly exchange is just 2 sentences, yet it creates a positive vibe. Notice that you also asked a simple follow-up question to keep the conversation going. This is one of the golden rules in any conversation. Ask questions to show genuine interest. Now think about being at the grocery store again, but this time you're at the checkout counter. The cashier greets you and says, "Hi, how are you today?" This is such a common question, and a simple reply like, "I'm doing well, thanks. How about you?" not only answers the question but helps to create a pleasant interaction. While it's short, this exchange is polite and positive. If they casually continue by saying something like, "It's been a busy day," you could respond with, "I can imagine. It looks like a lot of people are shopping today." This kind of response shows understanding and makes the conversation feel more friendly. Let's shift to a travel scenario. Imagine you're at an airport and you need to find your gate. You spot an airport employee and ask, "Excuse me, could you help me find gate B13? They might respond with, "Sure, it's just down this hall on the right." You could thank them with a simple, "Thank you so much for your help." Adding phrases like, "Could you help me?" and "Thank you so much" makes your tone polite and approachable. Even if you feel a little nervous speaking, people usually appreciate kindness and effort. Another everyday situation could be asking for directions on the street. Let's say you're trying to find the nearest bookstore. You could approach someone and say, "Excuse me, could you tell me where the nearest bookstore is?" If the person gives you directions, listen carefully and repeat the directions back like, "Oh, down 2 blocks and take a left? Thanks so much." Repeating what they said not only helps you confirm the information, but it also reinforces your memory and pronunciation. Let's talk about small talk in a waiting room. Maybe you're at the doctor's office, sitting next to someone. They notice the magazine in your hand and say, "Are you enjoying the article?" You might respond, "Yes, it's really interesting. I didn't know much about this topic before." If they seem interested, you can continue by saying, "Do you read this magazine often?" Small talk like this is low pressure and can make waiting feel less boring. Now let's imagine a phone call situation. You're calling to make an appointment, perhaps with a hair salon. The receptionist picks up and says, "Hello, thank you for calling. How can I help you?" A polite response could be, "Hi, I'd like to make an appointment for a haircut, please." If they ask, "When would you like to come in?" you could reply with, "Do you have any openings on Saturday morning?" Keeping your tone polite and your sentences clear makes these conversations smoother. Let's bring in a situation where you're giving compliments. Imagine you're at a colleague's desk and you notice their family photo frame. You might say, "That's such a lovely photo of your family." They're likely to smile and say, "Thank you." Compliments are a simple and effective way to build rapport with people. If you're looking for a safe way to compliment someone, focus on neutral topics like their work, their skills, or their belongings. Now let's practice a dinner conversation with friends. Imagine you're at a table and the host brings out a dish. They ask, "How do you like it?" If you want to respond warmly, you can say, "It's delicious. Thank you for making this." If you feel like adding more detail, you could say, "I love the spices you used. Did you follow a special recipe?" Showing appreciation and asking questions keeps the conversation lively. Think about another casual situation, like being at a bookstore. Someone standing nearby notices you're holding a book and says, "That's a great book. Have you read anything else by that author?" You could respond, "Not yet, but I've heard great things. Do you recommend their other books?" This kind of interaction doesn't require deep knowledge. It's just a small exchange of enthusiasm about a shared interest. Finally, let's talk about group settings, like during a meeting or at an event. If someone shares an idea during the meeting, a comment like, "That's an interesting idea. Could you explain a bit more?" shows that you're engaged and interested. In group settings, sometimes people feel shy to speak, but small supportive comments like these can make the conversation flow better. The more you listen and interact in English, the smoother your conversations will get. Don't be afraid to try, even if it's just 1 or 2 sentences. The effort matters more than perfection. Practice with these everyday phrases and situations, and over time, you'll notice that speaking becomes more natural. Part 3. Let's continue expanding on practical conversations you can use every day. The more we explore real situations, the more comfortable you will become speaking naturally. Imagine yourself at a shopping mall, browsing clothes in a store. A store employee approaches you and says, "Can I help you find something?" You could reply, "Yes, I'm looking for a jacket. Do you have any in medium size?" If they respond by giving you options, you might add, "That's great. Could I try this one on, please?" These polite phrases like "could I" or "can I" show respect and are often used in customer service settings. Think about another situation. You're at the same store but want to return something you bought earlier. You go to the customer service desk and start the conversation with, "Hello, I'd like to return this item. I have the receipt with me." The person may ask why you're returning it, and you could say, "It didn't fit well," or "It wasn't quite what I was looking for." Sticking to clear and simple sentences makes the process easier. Finally, a polite "thank you for your help" is the perfect way to end the interaction. Let's shift to a travel scenario, like checking into a hotel. You walk up to the receptionist and they say, "Welcome. Do you have a reservation?" You could reply, "Yes, I reserved a room under the name of John Smith." If they ask for your ID or details, you might respond, "Of course, here's my ID." After they confirm your reservation, they might say, "Your room is ready and checkout is at 11 a.m. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions. For instance, you could say, "Thank you. Is breakfast included, or would that be extra?" Gathering useful information like this helps you feel prepared during your stay. Now think about dining at a restaurant. If the server comes to your table and says, "Are you ready to order, or do you need more time?" You could reply with, "I think we're ready. Can I have the grilled salmon, please?" This polite request sounds smooth and professional. If you're unsure about an item on the menu, don't hesitate to ask, "What's the chef's special for today?" Or, "Could you tell me what's in this dish?" Servers often appreciate these questions because they show interest in the experience. After finishing your meal, it's nice to say, "Thank you, everything was wonderful," to leave a good impression. Let's imagine you're waiting at a train station, and there's an announcement over the loudspeaker that is hard to hear. You could ask someone nearby, "Excuse me, did you hear where the train to Central Station is boarding?" If they answer, you could follow up with a short, "Thanks for letting me know." These small interactions not only help you get the information you need, but they also allow you to practice conversational English in a real-world context. Now let's explore meeting new people during hobbies or activities. For example, imagine you've joined a local sports club and you're meeting another player for the first time. They might say, "Hi, is this your first time playing here?" You could respond, "Yes, it is. I'm excited to join the group. How long have you been part of the team?" Questions like this make the other person feel engaged and included. If they ask you about your skill level, a simple answer like, "I'm still learning, but I really enjoy it," keeps the conversation honest and lighthearted. Let's practice a more formal setting, like a job interview. The interviewer might begin with a question like, "Can you tell me a little about yourself?" Instead of feeling nervous, think about answering in a calm and organized way. Start with something simple. "Sure, my name is Sarah. I studied marketing at university, and I've been working in social media management for the past 2 years." Adding a little detail without speaking too long is key. If they ask a follow-up question like, "What made you choose marketing?" you could respond with, "I've always been interested in creativity and storytelling, and marketing felt like the perfect fit for me." Keeping your answers clear and confident will show that you're comfortable communicating. Another common formal situation could be making a phone call to ask for information. Imagine you're calling a library to check if a book is available. You might say, "Hello, I'm calling to ask if you have a copy of The Great Gatsby available for loan." The librarian might ask, "Do you have a library card with us?" You could reply, "Yes, I do. My card number is 12345. These phone conversations are great for improving your clarity because the other person can only hear your voice. Let's come back to casual social situations, like being at a party. If you're standing near someone and looking for a way to start a conversation, you might say, "This place is really nice. Have you been to one of these events before?" The other person will likely respond positively, especially since you've started with a friendly observation. If they say they've been to several events, you could follow up with, "That's great. What's been your favorite part so far?" Questions like these show interest and open room for a longer chat. Finally, let's touch on conversations when meeting someone from a different culture. It's always good to be curious and respectful. You might say something like, "I've never been to your country before. What's it like there?" If they mention something unique about their culture, you could respond with, "That sounds amazing. I'd love to visit someday." Showing interest in someone's background not only makes the conversation enjoyable, but also leaves a lasting positive impression. Remember, conversations don't have to be perfect. They just have to be meaningful. It's okay to make mistakes. It's all part of learning. The most important part is to keep practicing. Every sentence you speak gets you closer to becoming more confident in English. Part 4. Now let us continue with some more interesting and practical conversations that you can use in your daily life. These situations focus on common scenarios where you can practice speaking English naturally and confidently. Imagine you're in an elevator with someone you've met once before, perhaps a neighbor from your apartment building. They smile and say, "Hi, how are you today?" You could reply, "I'm good, thanks. How about you?" If they continue and say something like, "It's been so cold lately," you could add, "I know, right? Winter seems to be getting colder every year." Simple exchanges like this are great for practicing, and they don't need to go on for long, just enough to share polite conversation. Let's move to another setting, like a bookstore. Suppose you're standing in the aisle looking at books, and someone nearby asks you, "Do you know if this author has written any other books?" You might respond with, "I'm not sure, but I think they have. Maybe we can check the back cover." Here's a helpful tip. Even if you don't know the exact answer, being polite and offering to help keeps the conversation pleasant. After they reply, you could follow up with, "Are you looking for anything specific to read?" By asking questions, you create opportunities for more interaction. Now, think about going to the pharmacy. If you need help finding something, you might approach a staff member and say, "Excuse me, could you help me find pain relievers?" If the employee gives you directions, it's always nice to respond with, "Thank you. That's very helpful." Politeness is key in customer service interactions, and keeping your sentences short and clear ensures you're easily understood. Let's practice something fun, like ordering food at a drive-thru. When the voice over the speaker asks, "What can I get for you today?" you could say, "Hi, could I get a cheeseburger with no onions and a small fries, please?" It's always a good idea to mention specific details to avoid confusion. If they ask, "Would you like anything to drink with that?" you could respond with, Yes, a small iced tea, please. Being clear and concise is important when ordering in these situations, since the staff usually has to write things down quickly. Let's change to a situation where you're asking for recommendations. Imagine you're in a new city and want to try a local restaurant. You see someone on the street and ask, "Excuse me, could you recommend a good place to eat nearby?" If they respond with a suggestion, you might say, "That sounds great. Is it within walking distance?" Adding follow-up questions is a great technique to keep conversations interesting and make sure you have all the information you need. Think about meeting someone for the first time in a fitness class, such as yoga. They might turn to you and say, "This is my first yoga session. How about you?" You could reply, "I've been coming for a few weeks now. It's a great way to relax and stay fit." If they seem interested, you could add, "Do you do any other workouts?" These friendly chats can help you practice casual conversation while finding common ground with others. Now imagine you're renting a car at a service desk. The employee might ask, "What kind of car are you looking to rent today?" A simple response could be, "Something small and easy to drive, please." If they ask, "Do you need it for a day or a week?" you could respond with, "Just for a day, please." You could also ask questions of your own, such as, "Does the rental include insurance?" or "Is there a mileage limit?" Conversations like these help you practice asking for and providing specific information. Let's look at a casual setting like a park. Imagine you're sitting on a bench and someone nearby comments, "It's such a beautiful day, isn't it?" You could reply with, "It really is. The sunshine makes everything look so cheerful." If they add, "I love coming here to take a walk," you might respond, "Same here. It's such a peaceful spot. Do you come here often?" Responding with a question is a great way to keep the conversation flowing naturally. Now, let's move to a slightly more formal situation, like visiting a bank. Imagine you're opening a new account. The bank officer might say, "What kind of account are you looking to open?" You could respond, "I'd like to open a savings account, please." If they ask, "Do you have a valid ID?" you could reply, "Yes, here's my driver's license." Keeping your responses direct and polite is important in professional settings like these. Finally, think about attending a social event like a wedding or a birthday party. You might find yourself introduced to someone by your host. For example, they might say, "This is Tom. He's a friend from college." You could respond to Tom with, "Hi, Tom. Nice to meet you. How do you know the host?" This is an easy way to start a conversation, as it ties in with the event you're both attending. If Tom responds with a story about their time in college, you could follow up with, "That must have been fun. How long have you known each other?" These types of conversations often feel effortless because they build on shared connections. Remember, each conversation, no matter how small or brief, is an opportunity to learn. When you engage with people in everyday settings, you're not only building your language skills but also gaining confidence. Practice often and keep your sentences simple and clear. The more you do this, the easier it will become over time. Part 5. In this part, we'll explore even more practical and real-life scenarios to help you practice English in everyday situations. Remember, repetition is your best friend. The more you practice these phrases, the more natural they will feel. Let's begin with something as familiar as taking a taxi or using any travel app. Picture yourself getting into a cab. The driver might greet you with, "Hello, where to?" You can respond with, "Hi, could you take me to 45th Street and Main Avenue, please?" It's always a good idea to add "please" at the end to stay polite. If the driver asks, "Do you have a preferred route?" you could answer, "No preference. Whatever is the fastest way is fine." If you're worried about the cost, you might ask, "About how long will it take to get there?" Or, "Do you know how much the fare will be?" These are simple phrases, but very useful in travel situations. Now think about attending a small group meeting for school or work. People might start by introducing themselves. If it's your turn, you can say something like, "Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm looking forward to working with you all." If someone mentions a new idea, you could respond with, "That's an interesting point. Could you explain it a bit more?" Even if you're not confident about speaking a lot, short sentences like this help you participate and actively contribute to the discussion. It also shows you are listening closely. Let's practice another conversation, this time at a bakery. Imagine you're browsing the shelves and a staff member asks, "Can I help you find something?" You could reply, "Yes, I'm looking for a chocolate cake. Do you have any recommendations?" If they suggest something, you might follow up with, "That sounds great. I'll take one of those, please." If you're not sure yet, a phrase like, "I'm just taking a look for now, thank you," works perfectly. Next, imagine you're at a hardware store and need help finding a specific item. You could approach someone and say, "Excuse me, could you help me find light bulbs?" If they point you toward an aisle, it's helpful to clarify by asking, "Thank you. Are they at the start of the aisle or toward the end?" Adding small follow-up questions like this not only ensures clarity, but also keeps the conversation moving naturally. Let's move to an outdoor market setting. Suppose you're looking to buy some fruit, and you see a vendor selling bananas. The vendor might say, "Fresh bananas, only $1 a bunch." You could ask, "Are they ripe, or will they need a couple of days?" This is a natural way to start asking about the product. If you decide to buy, you might say, "Okay, I'll take 2 bunches, please." Conversations at markets tend to be short and friendly. They're a great opportunity to practice small exchanges in English. Now imagine you're at a public library and need help finding a book. You could approach the desk and say, "Hi, I'm looking for a book on gardening. Could you point me to the right section, please?" If the librarian answers, "Sure, the gardening section is in aisle 7, you could respond with, "Thank you. That's a big help." If you have time, you could keep talking by asking, "Do you have any book recommendations for beginners?" Librarians are usually happy to help and love to share their knowledge, so this is a great way to practice asking for advice. Let's practice small talk at the gym. Imagine you're at a machine and someone nearby says, "That's a tough workout, huh?" You could respond with, "It definitely is, but it feels good afterward." If the person continues, they might ask, "How long have you been coming here?" A simple answer like, "I just started last month, but I'm enjoying it so far," works perfectly. Remember, gym conversations are usually casual and short, so you don't need to overthink your responses. Now think about a classroom or workshop situation. Imagine the instructor asks an open question like, "What do you think is the most important skill to learn today?" Even if you feel shy, you could respond with something simple like, "I think teamwork is the most important because it helps us achieve goals together." Giving short, clear answers works well in academic or learning settings. It's okay if your response is not perfect. What matters is showing that you're participating. Let's shift to a situation like asking for help at a coffee shop. Suppose you want to use the cafe's Wi-Fi. You could approach the counter and ask, "Excuse me, do you have Wi-Fi here?" If they respond with, "Yes, the code is at the bottom of your receipt," you could say, "Great, thank you so much." If you're unsure of their answer, you might ask for clarification. For example, "Could you repeat that, please? I couldn't catch it clearly." Asking for clarification is perfectly fine. It shows you're interested in understanding better. Finally, think about saying goodbye to someone at the end of a day or event. You're at a family gathering or with a group of friends, and it's time to leave. Instead of just waving goodbye, you could say, "Thanks for inviting me. I had such a great time." If they respond, "We're happy you came," you might add, "Let's do this again soon." Ending a conversation on a positive note is always a good idea. It helps leave a lasting impression on the other person. In each of these scenarios, something important happens. You practice being clear, polite, and friendly. It's helpful to repeat these short exchanges in your head before trying them out. Little by little, you'll notice that speaking English becomes less about thinking and more about expressing yourself naturally. Remember, it's not about saying everything perfectly. It's about building confidence through practice. Over time, you'll see yourself improving. Part 6. We've covered so many great scenarios so far, so now let's wrap up with even more practical examples to strengthen your English conversation skills. These interactions will focus on being comfortable, polite, and natural in common situations. Let's start with something as simple as talking to a cashier while paying for items in a store. Imagine the cashier is scanning your items and says, "Did you find everything you were looking for today?" A good response could be, "Yes, thank you. Everything was easy to find." If you didn't find something, you could say, "Actually, I was looking for batteries, but I didn't see them. Do you carry those?" Short and polite sentences like these make the interaction smooth and easy. As the cashier finishes and says, "That'll be $20.50, you could respond with, "Here you go," while handing over the payment. "Thanks, have a great day," at the end leaves a pleasant impression. Now let's consider making new friends in public places. For example, imagine you're at a park and notice someone reading a book you've already read. You could start by saying, "That's a great book. I read it last year. How are you finding it so far?" They might reply with something like, "It's really good, but kind of sad." You could follow up with, "Yeah, I felt the same way. The story really stays with you, though." Connecting on shared experiences like books or hobbies is an easy and natural way to practice conversations and make friends. Let's move on to asking for help in a clothing store dressing room. You're trying on a shirt but aren't sure about the size. You could step out and ask the attendant, "Excuse me, could I try this in a larger size?" If they respond, "Sure, let me get that for you," you could say, "Thank you so much, I really appreciate it." And when you're done, whether you're buying the item or not, it's polite to say, "Thanks for your help today." This leaves the person feeling appreciated, and it gives you practice in polite exchanges. Next, picture yourself at the movies. You're buying tickets at the counter, and the attendant asks, "What movie would you like to see?" You could say, Hi, I'd like one ticket for the adventure of tomorrow at 7 p.m., please. If they ask about your seating preference, you might respond with, I'd like something near the middle if possible. Adding please and thank you makes the conversation flow kindly. Afterward, when someone checks your ticket at the entrance, you could say, thank you, as they point you to the theater. These little moments of acknowledgement are simple but meaningful. Now think about running into a neighbor while walking your dog. They might say, good morning, how's your day so far? You could respond with, good morning, it's going well, thank you. How about yours? If they comment on your dog, like, your dog seems so happy today, you could say, thanks. He loves these morning walks. Short exchanges like these build friendliness in your community and give you an easy way to practice polite responses. Let's go over meeting someone at a cafe or coffee shop. Imagine you're picking up your order, but the person in front of you accidentally takes your coffee. You could say, excuse me, I think that's my order. If they realize their mistake, they might apologize, and you could respond with, no problem at all, it happens. Polite and calm responses keep small misunderstandings from becoming uncomfortable situations. If the barista asks, was everything okay with your order? You could reply, yes, thank you. I just wanted to make sure it's the right one. Now think about making a quick stop at a gas station. You walk in and ask the cashier, hi, can I get $20 on pump number 4, please? After they process the transaction and hand you your receipt, you could say, thanks so much. Simple interactions like this are great opportunities to keep practicing everyday English. No conversation is too small. Each one helps you build confidence. Let's move to a holiday situation, like giving or receiving gifts. When someone hands you a gift, they might say, I hope you like it. You could respond with, wow, thank you so much. That's so thoughtful of you. If you're giving a gift, you could say, this is for you. I hope you enjoy it. Conversations like these are warm and kind, and practicing gratitude helps to make meaningful connections with others. Switching now to an office setting, imagine you need to ask a coworker for help. You could say, hey, do you have a moment? I'm having trouble with this report. If they respond with, sure, what do you need help with? You could follow up with, I just need some advice on writing the summary. Do you have any tips? Asking for help in a polite and specific way makes the person feel appreciated, and it also opens the door for effective communication. Finally, let's talk about wrapping up a phone conversation. Sometimes saying goodbye on the phone can be tricky, especially if the conversation has already gone on for a while. If you're speaking to a friend and want to end the call, you could say, it's been great catching up, but I have to go now. Let's talk again soon. For professional or formal calls, you might say, thank you for your time. I'll follow up soon. Have a great day. Ending conversations with a friendly and clear note shows politeness and leaves a positive impression. As we bring your practice to a close, remember that communication is all about connection. It's okay to make mistakes. They're just stepping stones to learning. The more you practice these everyday conversations, the more confident and natural you'll feel when speaking English. The trick is to focus on listening, responding, and keeping things simple. Each hello, each question, and each goodbye is a small victory. And that's it for today's video on English conversation practice. I hope you found these examples helpful and practical for your daily life. Remember, the best way to improve your language skills is to practice every chance you get, no matter how small the conversation. Make these everyday situations your training ground, and over time, you'll feel more confident in speaking English naturally and fluently. Did any of the examples catch your attention, or do you have a favorite one you'd like to try out? Leave a comment down below and let me know how you plan to use these phrases in your daily life. Or, if you've had any memorable conversations while practicing English, share your story with us in the comments. I'd love to hear about your experiences. Also, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more helpful content like this. Learning a language is a journey, and we're here to guide you every step of the way. Let's continue practicing and improving together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day, and happy practicing.